I just wanted to take a few minutes and just welcome everybody to Miami. Thank you for being here. I always like to come to these events. I look forward to them every quarter because not only do I get to see friends that I've known in the industry for a long time, but I get to spend time with a group of people that I really think is shaping the future of our industry. If we take a look at where we need to head as an industry, we need to create new digital services for our customers, and we need to create digital experiences, and that's all based on the need for automation. And the work that this team is doing around helping to create those services and create the automation around them, to me, is really important. And that's why I choose to participate. That's why I like to come here and continue to see the great work that the team is doing. I wanted to share a few things that we covered in the board meeting this morning. And Nan, I don't know what you're going to talk about, so I apologize if I lap a little bit here. But one of the things we talked about was the adoption of 6 standards, acceptance of those. And all 6 are great work promoting further progress around things like, Sonata, interlude, policy-driven orchestration, trouble ticketing. But there's 2 other ones that are a new set of standards for us here at MEF, and that is W117 and W118. For those that know what those are, you go out and check them out. But they are SD-WAN, SD-WAN, they're SASE and Zero Trust. And they're first because they really define the service attributes and the service framework for those services. And that's important because we all know that as new services get created in our industry, there's a lot of different definitions around what they are, what the attributes are, and that creates confusion for enterprise customers. What should they expect when they buy services for SASE and Zero Trust? And the work that the teams did to put that initial definition of the service attributes and service framework in place, I think is really important. And it's important because it puts a stake in the ground around the definition of those services. So thank you to the groups and companies that helped to define those standards and those that commented on them. And if you haven't had a chance, please go out and check them out, read them, socialize them within your companies, because this is the beginning of these definitions. There's more work to be done. And sort of my request of the group here is to engage in that conversation and help drive their definition. Another thing that we talked about in the board meeting was adoption of the LSO APIs. And for those that were in the Denver meeting, you may remember Stan Hubbard. He presented our adoption stats. And those stats are continuing to go up. And I think Nan is going to share some additional details around how we're doing on adoption. But after that Denver meeting, I sort of walked away from it really excited about how much adoption is occurring with those LSO APIs in the industry. And it reminded me of a time about 25 years ago, a little bit less than 25 years ago. And I was with, we were starting up Level 3 communications, for those that remember Level 3 communications. I do see a good number of people out here that are Level 3 alumni. But this was in the early days. We weren't even called Level 3 back then. We were called Peter Kiewit and Sons. We were a construction company. And there was a few of us sitting in a room debating about how you build networks. And we were talking about, maybe we should build a network based on this protocol called IP. IP in the internet existed back then, but it was pretty new and pretty small. So we decided that we were going to build a network based on this IP protocol, when other people were building ATM and frame relay networks back then. And we were also discussing how were we going to build services on top of that network. We were talking about how we're going to provide voice services. And we were doing standards work. 25 years ago, I was working on that. And we were creating a small group of companies that were collaborating on how you do voice over IP to run on top of this IP-based network. And we were creating, soft switch standards back then. And the group was collaborating, and it was a global group. There was a company in Asia that had written an initial set of standards for how we were going to do voice over IP. And they said, we have this document we want to do, and we want to review in this meeting. And everybody looked around, we don't have the document. And they said, that's okay. And so the company in Asia attached the document to an email, and within seconds we had it. That was pretty impressive back then. We had about 7 people in the room. We all looked around at each other and said, oh, that was pretty cool. We can communicate globally. We can exchange information that quickly. And somebody in the meeting, looked up from their computer and they said, I think this internet thing is going to catch on. And it was funny back then. It is even funnier now. But, as I look at the LSO adoption and, the number of companies that are starting to really use the great work that this organization is doing, I think I can safely say, this LSO API thing is going to catch on. It's starting to happen. So thank you all for the great work that you do all the time, even between meetings on definition of the standards. Very much appreciated. And I personally want to thank you for helping to shape the industry. With that, I think, Nan, you're up.